Last week, I began Sunday sharing on peace and the world's call for peace. Calling for peace yet again, this time October 2nd in Israel. This is a call to our attention, I said, and it's loud.
Let me
and
break
clear.
in for just a second, Reverend Julianne. We somehow aren't getting your sound in person, but let's just go ahead and we'll let you go ahead with the online audience, and we'll do something here.
Oh my
Perhaps
goodness.
we'll listen to a recording of it all later for those of you who are here in person but are missing this at this point. So go ahead, Rev J, and we'll carry on here.
Can you make her a co-host?
Yeah, maybe that would work. Okay, well, as I said, last week I talked about sharing on peace and the world's call for peace. And being reminded that peace is grounded in the mutual responsibility and interdependence of our day-to-day experience. And that work begins with you and me. We are called to make a commitment to be the peace that passeth all understanding. Without inner peace, it's impossible to have world peace. So says His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Exceptionally important for us to recognize, and I did, that this needed to be. I could not be in denial of what was happening in Israel, and yes, in Ukraine, and yes, in so many other ways in our world. Inner peace was not my strong suit, last week. It was not. And I actually began to tear up, shed tears, and I realized there had to be another way for me to look at this. Yes, look without, then look within. Is it not interesting that I had determined the talk for today? Yep, I did. And actually, before October 5th, I was aware that I saw turmoil, I saw chaos, I saw disorder and war. And of course, this influences my energy and those that I share energy with. I am aware of my responsibility to respond by sharing a peaceful energy. And from my perception, that peaceful energy has three inseparable aspects. The first one is peace with oneself, rejecting my seeming inflexibility, anger, and impatience. As that first song said, human, yes, however divine, feeling my heart's desire. Then peace with others, the second one, being unafraid to encounter them and listen to what they have to say. To listen, I believe, is rising up to our love and our peace. And then peace with all creation, rediscovering and committing to our individual and shared responsibility as spiritual beings having a human experience of this world, affirming our willingness to be caretakers of the planet and all life forms. That afternoon, trying to defer my attention a little bit from myself, I looked at my email, and that's something I rarely do on Sunday afternoon. But one of the very first things that came up for me was a quote from Alan Cohen. Make sure your point of view offers you a good view of point. Should I repeat that? Make sure your point of view offers you a good view of the point. Yes, loud and clear. That's exactly what I needed to hear and to see. That good view of point. To accomplish three aspects of peace: peace with myself, others, and all creation, I must choose a good view. And this week, it has been truly helpful for me to go without, go within. I discovered that in so doing, it was a call to recognize and remember that everyone has opinions of who and what we should, ought, and must be. Each of us has been raised with some programming about who, what, where, and when. Now, maybe from our parents and families, religions, teachers, educators, employers, politicians, and more and more and more. We do this, for example, when we blindly follow our parents' plans for our life rather than finding our own way. I remember going to my dad and mother and saying, I want to be a photojournalist. So I want to go to Northwestern College. I want to study journalism and I want to continue with my photography. My dad kind of shook his head and said, Julianne, all you have to do is know how to type and you'll always have a job. You know, obviously he didn't want me to take over the family business, but he didn't want me to be a photojournalist, or if I was, I had to find my own way. And I think that it was a discovery of me to learn that I was free to march to the beat of my own drum, however that beat shifted and changed in my life. I think I've done pretty well with it too. You know, when we look in the mirror, it's so easy for us to do the shoulda, mighta, coulda, and shout out loud at ourselves. Be honest, we're pros at that should. But on the one hand, we miss who God has called us to be when we simply conform to the expectations of others and when we see our personal fears of inadequacy. We must give ourselves permission to look within and discover our true selves. And this will share an awareness with us of the abundant gifts that we have in our spiritual nature, in our spiritual truth, as well as those divine gifts that can be expressed, that we are called to express. However, at the same time, we have to remember life is not just about us. We must also ground ourselves in the acknowledgement of what the material world is beyond our own personal experience and perception. Yes, look without. This happens when we simply adopt the popular opinions of the day rather than observing and truly seeing what we can actually form in our own awareness and our understanding. Without knowing the value and worth of our own contributions, we play the role of lost souls, merely drifting from one popular or judgmental worldly thought to the next. Being aware of this possibility, we're called to be mindful. We discover who God has called us to be by looking inside of ourselves and discerning the unique ways that God has crafted us. This lifetime, we have been crafted because we have been called. And it's not simply doing whatever seems right in our physical eyes. Some things are really true and some things are actually false, regardless of our personal opinions or the opinions of others. We have a responsibility to respond with God's ability to love our neighbor and promote the welfare of those around us, irrespective of any other gifts and calls we might have. Likewise, while we might have our personal preferences, some things are still clearly beautiful, while others are not. To be sure, we must learn to look without, beyond our personal ego selves, to find and to understand our place in that larger story that life is telling. To do so, we have to learn to submit to the spiritual realities beyond what we see in ourselves as well. I learned this week that we miss our unique contribution when we fail to look within. Just like I did on Sunday. by being caught up in my emotion, by crying, by blocking my calmness. We miss God's objective when we fail to look without. However, when we go within and be truly still, we feel and know the beauty of our truth. So we must do both. When we go within, we feel assured and confident in our worldly experience. And it's a vital teaching, learning purpose. It's not mindless. It's not frivolous. It's a sincere acceptance of happiness and joy and well-being. The joy of our soul, feeling its connection with its origin, its oneness with all people, seeming without, and with our Creator within. You are now awake and aware of your human and divine calling. Now we fully recognize and can express the love and the peace in our heart at seeing the creative, wondrous, and eternal togetherness of us all. And as you do, I do so. And others will join. It'll be like we're singing out loud and letting the world know. With our willingness to have an open heart mind, we will learn and experience the wisdom of looking without and within, discovering our true self and purpose in the material world, and a humble respect for the ultimate realities of our day-to-day life. We have a duty to love our neighbor and promote the welfare of those around us, irrespective of any other gifts and callings we might have. We will then accept our spiritual connection and realize we can make another's life experience a little bit brighter and happier, maybe just with a smile and a good word. A little light goes a very long way. Ram Dass says, as we grow in our consciousness, there will be more compassion and more love. And then the barriers between people, between religions, between nations will begin to fall. Yes, we have beat down separateness. And this one we can do when there appears to be chaos and darkness in our worldly experience. Let's stop and think. Many of us have built a bridge. Yes, that first one with Legos. My son and I used to build bridges. I'm sure that Manny and his boys did. Think about it, one block at a time. And I believe that the bridge we are called to build, the bridge that unites heaven and earth by lighting a path of peace between them, is releasing one block at a time. I do believe that each one of us has been called to this lifetime to build that bridge. There's a statement from Robert Quinn, build the bridge as you walk on it. It's a statement that's one of my favorites when I'm thinking about this, because it reminds me that I must allow myself to be fearful. I cannot allow myself to be fearful. I am not fearful. I am ready. I am capable. I am willing to step forward and trust that I will learn the way to build and walk on that bridge. Learning is essential. And when I look without at the world, I will recognize it is giving me that learning opportunity to see and feel and experience. And then go within and ask, what is this teaching me? When I recognize the learning, I can see peace instead of distress. And now I can apply that learning to my call to be truly helpful, sharing peace and love. Now I am building the bridge, the connection of spiritual truth and human experience. Is there anything more important than that, truthfully? Bridges have been an integral part of our human civilization, serving as a means of transportation, commerce, communication, but they symbolize many things, from overcoming obstacles, reaching new destinations, connecting with the divine, and reaching a new approach to our fears and our insecurities. To me, bridges symbolize new beginnings, transition, and change, overcoming fear, farewells, a meeting point, travel, and even a divine connection. Whether you want to escape past mistakes or seek a safer place, a bridge can represent a path to a better future. Bridges symbolize many things, from overcoming obstacles and reaching new destinations to connecting with the divine and facing our fears and insecurities. As we grow in consciousness and build our bridge through the divine guidance within us, there will be more compassion and more love. And then the barriers between people, between religions, between nations will begin to fall. We have to release the idea of separateness. And this will initiate a fresh start for us to do so. Of course, honestly, every day is a fresh start, isn't it? When we wake in the morning, the first thing we share is our gratitude. Gratitude for the new day, a new beginning, a new start. Don't you do that as well? I do. Then we look. We look without, choosing an open mind, and see the many things within our worldly experience that we are called to acknowledge. It may be simply family. It may be the neighborhood. It may be the political awareness. It may be, it goes on and on. But once we have taken a look at the things that jump out at us this morning, first thing, the more we look at those things, we give ourselves permission to then go within, affirming, giving thanks for the ever spirit of truth moving in and through us in that moment. That is the gift. Yes, spirit of light, spirit of life and love, the light within and without. Be with me now as I allow myself to drop into the silence and the stillness at the center of my being. Taking a deep breath, I now ask for the guidance and direction as to my call for the day. In so doing, I have begun to build the bridge. As a bridge builder, a bridge contractor, I have an opportunity to understand what we think, say, and do is shared, and the light on that bridge to my direction. Will Allen wrote, "An old man going on a lone highway came at the evening cold and gray to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a sullen tide. The old man crossed in twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fear for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. 'Old man,' said a fellow pilgrim near, 'you're wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You will never again pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build this bridge at evening tide?' The builder lifted his gray head. 'Good friend, in the path I have come,' he said. 'There followed after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that has been has not to me. To that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. good friend, I am building the bridge for him. Indeed, you and I are building the bridge. Yes, to shine the light for us and for those that are looking for the light, willing to see the light, recognizing they are part of that light. May we remember that, yes, we know God.